capture some network traffic and then find out where a malware is getting into. So we'll take some uh, already captured packets and then we'll try to identify a malware uh, from it. So this is what the agenda of the topic is now. Most of you must have been hearing about this. So it's viruses, worms, malwares. This is a topic which has become quite common these days. And so, a virus, as all of you know, is normally associated with something destructive to whatever software or files or some confidential data that we store with the technologies that we have. So usually these malwares or worms or viruses, uh, they're associated with something destructive. It can be a laptop, it can be a smartphone or an application or a gaming system. It could affect any of these. So a virus, it cannot replicate without any human interaction. So this is the kind of malware that we used to see decades ago. So this human interaction normally meant clicking on a link or opening an attachment or launching an application, means running an exe file or downloading some file. But unless these human interactions happen, the virus cannot replicate. But worm is a kind of software which does not require human interaction and can replicate on its own. It can get deep into the systems and also can move from one computer to another computer, I mean, one device to another device. And malware is a generic term that encapsulates all these threats, be it viruses, worms, botnets, ransomware. So these botnets, ransomware, spyware, adware, uh, all these things that we talk about, they are improvised, sophisticated forms of these worms and viruses put together. So malware normally means a software uh, which is written with a malicious intent. There are different types of malware, as I just told you. Ransomware, spyware, adware, keyloggers. Lots of classes of malwares are known today. And normally, these classes of software or the classification is based on the way these programs spread to other computers or other files in the same computer, or from computer to computer, from device to another device, how they propagate. Based on these characteristics, they are classified. And they are also classified based on what actions they do. Like, for instance, ransomware is a kind of a software that encrypts the files on the system it infects and then asks for ransom to release the decryption license or the key for decryption. Similarly, spyware is something, a kind of a software which tries to spy on the activities that are done on the device. So adware is something related to a kind of a, for example, a kind of a pop-up that shows up. And keylogger, the action is to log all the keys that are pressed. So depending on the various actions or the payloads, it can be classified into a particular class. And there are many ransomwares, many spywares, many adwares, many keylogging programs. So normally propagation mechanisms, they include those used by viruses or worms or trojans. Means they either replicate in the same system or spread from one system to another system or spread through the network. So it all depends on the way they try to spread. So these payloads mean, just as I told you, uh, again, means of corrupting the whole system, or phishing or spyware or rootkits. There are many countermeasures for them, which we'll discuss as we move on. Talking about the evolution, so the first of its kind of malware, which is a kind of a worm, it spread its message through ARPANET computers somewhere back in 1971, and so it's the first proof of concept for a virus. So it actually posted this message: "I'm the creeper, catch me if you can." So it spread through the network via network protocol. But here, this particular virus, the intent was not malicious. It was just to see if this message can propagate to other computers on the ARPANET. And next popular virus is the Mac virus. So many of us think Mac doesn't get infected. They're not susceptible to viruses. So here again, a 15-year-old kid has written this program to just prank on his friends. And so this is a boot sector virus, and it propagated whenever an infected disk was run. And this kind of a virus would reside in memory and look for a clean floppy disk to infect. And so after every 50 or some stipulated number of infections, uh, this poem used to get displayed to the user. Okay, it will get on all your disks, it will infiltrate your chips, and so on. And then came on the PC virus, which is the brain virus. So it's created as a boot sector virus. And we must remember that in those days, there was no internet connection. And so for its spread, it took years together to reach out to far and wide. So what did it do? It loaded a warning to the individuals who are using a pirated copy of a medical software written by those authors. So then the master boot record of that machine was infected while making whenever an illegal copy was being made. So again, this was just to tell users that they are using pirated software. It's not a destructive virus. So it has hit a particular sector so that the machine won't boot and displayed this notification. Uh, okay, so it's just to uh, inform the individuals, make a call on how to get this medical software legally. And later, the very popular one is the Morris form, and this is a program, or it's not a virus. The distinction is that it doesn't need a human interaction to propagate, and it exploited various vulnerabilities in the programs and services, and checked to see if an existing infection was also present. And one interesting thing is that the author here was worried that any system admin would quarantine this worm and ignore the infection. So the greatest thing is that uh, this was programmed for persistence. So there was no way to stop the self-replication process, and that's the reason why it caused high loads on the device, and slowly there was a kind of a DOS, denial of service, in the networks as it spread from one machine to another machine. So you must have heard about Maurice, like he was first convicted for this fraud, and it was treated as an abusive act. But later on, he was hired at MIT and was stamped as a successful entrepreneur. Yeah, and then we started getting ransomwares. So this called one typical example is AIDS Trojan. It was sent via email, via some 20,000 infected floppy disks. And once the disk was run, it contained a questionnaire about AIDS. And after a few reboots, it changed the file names to encrypted strings and hid them from the user. And then there was a demand for so many dollars. Though it was initially said that all this money was used in AIDS research, but later uh, the author was, uh, charged for having done these activities. This was treated as a criminal cybercrime. Then there are a lot of other cyber crimes started popping up. They become more and more popular, like the Michelangelo, which is a boot sector virus. Then came in phishing attacks almost 30 years ago. And then came the botnets. Botnet, as you know, is a group of compromised computers which come under the command and control server. And you must be also aware of the Mirai botnet, which is normally the distributed denial of service attack. So this was carried out on systems of people who connect to IoT devices to the internet directly. They do not change the default username and password. So Mirai exploited this vulnerability, and this helped it to propagate without any difficulty. So even today, you might be seeing a lot of surveillance cameras which are installed in the apartments and communities. They are set with default passwords. There are many other devices like uh, you know uh, the electronic gadgets that we wear, or the routinely used gadgets that connect to internet. All of them, we normally retain the default passwords just for the sake of easy maintenance. But that is what these botnets look for. That lets these botnets to propagate very easily. So this in 2000, I love you 2000 blaster SAS, this was very popular. So it was sent via email as a malicious attachment. And whenever the victim clicked on it, uh, it went on searching for the contacts in the Outlook address book, and then sent out emails impersonating the victim and replicating itself as an attachment. Then came in backdoors and worms and botnets combinations, and so on. So MyTop is one popular one which infected victims' machines. It either arrived via the email through malicious attachments or exploited the vulnerabilities in certain protocols. So, for those of you who are interested, you can go to the NVD website, okay, National Vulnerability Database, and there you can see all these numbers for all the vulnerabilities that are associated with uh, any of the vulnerabilities in any of the softwares, hardwares. So this is the one, National Vulnerability Database. And you can literally search for any vulnerability of any software for the past several decades. And okay, next. Yeah. So all these numbers can be found in the database. Then came in the spywares and the hijacking agents. So Cool Web Search, CWS, is again often distributed by uh, drive-by downloads or adware programs. And for example, this particular case study is where a person has purchased a car from eBay for several $1,000s, but the vehicle never arrived. And then it was determined that uh, some malware had injected some fake listings on her device via the Bayrock malware. And like this, spyware started getting popular, and this has led to nation or state governments cyber weapons. So something like Stuxnet. This is a first specific nation state malware targeting the critical infrastructure like the SCADA systems. So we have seen many smart grids, many oil and gas pipeline companies, and industrial systems got infected with this. So then came in remote access Trojan and Flames. So Flame had everything, like it spread via LAN networks. It could record, capture screenshots and audio. It could eavesdrop on and record Skype conversations. It could turn Bluetooth workstations into listening beacons and lots of such stuff. So slowly ransomware started emerging, and even today, variants of this Reveton, Dark Seol, and these are still on the spread. One particular thing is about the Lazarus group, which targeted the Sony Corporation in 2014 by leaking confidential information in response to a film called The Interview. So, what did the hacker group do? So, they leaked the information about Sony Pictures employees, their families, emails between employees, information about executive salaries at the company, copies of the then unreleased Sony films, plans for future Sony films, scripts for certain films, and lots of other information. And not just that, these perpetrators then employed a variant of Shamoon Viper malware to erase Sony's computer infrastructure. And all this was done to stop the release of the movie called The Interview, which was associated with a comedy about a plot to assassinate their leader. Then, first botnet to target IoT devices started coming in, and The Mirai was very popular in 2016 and it spread far and wide across the world. Then came in the WannaCry and the Eternal Blue. So it is said that these code names like Fuzz Bunch, they were an exploitation framework developed by the NSA, and part of the framework included malware known as Double Pulsar, which is a backdoor attack that contained the infamous Eternal Blue exploit. And this Eternal Blue was a zero-day exploit that the NSA kept in their arsenal. And this was later on used for the WannaCry ransomware. And most of you must be knowing WannaCry has infected in 2017, 16, 17, 18. Lot of Windows systems, mostly government organizations for the targets. So all their systems, most of the systems which are not up to date, uh, they were encrypted and they were supposed to pay some ransom to get the files decrypted. So let me show you. So this is the signature of the WannaCry ransomware, and you can see virustotal.com is a website which helps you know whether a particular website is genuine or is a phishing website or is in an infected website, or a file that you have downloaded is an infected file. So it could be a celebrity photograph, or it could be some photograph that you're trying to download from the email or the internet. And say whether if your confidential document is infected with some malware, then also you can upload it to virustotal.com and find out uh, if any of these security vendors have marked them as viruses. You can see here Bitdefender, Fortinet, Google, K7, Malwarebytes, all these people, Kaspersky, have marked this as virus. And you can go and further find out what is a kind of malware here. So it's a Win32 DLL, okay, and it's an executable, and that means this malware is uh, harmful for the Windows systems. And you can see the internal details of this malware, okay, and what it does. So what is the behavior? You can see which modules it calls and how it spreads. Okay, what are its capabilities? It creates processes, means it can create a new process on the Windows, write files onto the Windows, and refers absolute stream path on the Windows. So it can extract resource via kernel 32 functions and all this stuff. It can also link to certain functions at runtime. So like this, These are all the capabilities of it. Okay, and what are all the files that get opened when this starts getting executed, and what are the registry keys that get opened. So like this, you can find lot of details in the virus total, and you have other tools as well. But as this is a general discussion session on malwares, I'm not getting into the details. So the other thing is, like, you can type something like, we'll see if virustotal.com is clean. Okay, so all these security vendors, they marked it as clean. So you can see. Then you can also notice this, at least 10 detected files communicating with this domain. Yeah. And so other than the website name and the signature of the thing, you can also upload the file, your Word document or any of your stuff, and find out if it is infected with malware. There are other ways too. Instead of uploading a confidential file into the cloud of VirusTotal, you can download a program like HashCalc. Uh, okay, hash calculator, and you generate a hash and then search for that hash like I did just now. Then it automatically detects whether that signature is pertaining to any malware in the database of VirusTotal vendors. So that is one. And the other one is, if you don't want to use hash calc, which is again a different program, the next thing you can do is you use some SHA-256 some function in the Kali Linux or any Linux that is available, or you can use OpenSSL and then generate the hashes, and that hash you can feed it here so that you don't have to upload your document file. So these are different ways of checking whether your files are infected with malware. Yeah, so we were discussing about this WannaCry, which is a ransomware. Then crypto mining has become very popular, especially 17, 18, 19. It was very popular. So XMRig is a minor application used for cryptocurrency related activities. It is not malicious. What it does is it uses unused CPU cycles on a machine to solve its cryptocurrency mining math problem. So these gangs, they installed XMRig on victims' machines and devices, and then they started collecting and aggregating the resulting data for their own crypto profits. And so, where did they use them? Most of the common vulnerabilities utilized as per the publications done in NVD and other websites is that Apache Struts, Oracle WebLogic, and Jenkins servers, they had some vulnerabilities which were exploited by these criminal attackers, and their server CPU time was used uh, for aggregating their own data. So Grand Crab is a very popular ransomware as a service thing. So here the attacker is not developing the software. So the Grand Crab authors have developed this software and provided this as a service to the actual attackers. It's a perfect business model. So whoever is using the service would do all this criminal activity, but the developers of Grand Crab, they stayed in the background and they collected somewhere between 25% to 40% of the actual ransom. So they gave all the technical support, and attackers were using it as a service. So Rebel is again one malware which is loosely affiliated to dark side, and it is the reason for this colonial pipeline attack. And so this is a very again popular attack, which is one of the most recent ones. And you can see here an American oil pipeline system that originates in Houston and carries gasoline and jet fuel, mainly to southeastern United States, suffered a ransomware cyber attack that impacted computerized equipment managing the pipeline. And the Colonial Pipeline Company halted all the pipeline operations to contain the attack. So later on, uh, they were asked to pay 75 bitcoins. In that year, it was equivalent to 4.4 million US dollars within several hours after the attack. And once the ransom was received, a small IT tool was delivered to the Colonial Pipeline Company, and but it took them very long time to get back the system. And what was noticed is that the group is believed to have stolen 100 GB of data from the company servers a day before the malware attack. Later on, it is said that part of the money was recovered. But anyway, the disruption of the activities that happened for a couple of days uh, is definitely a stake on the reputation of the company. So this is one of the popular malware attacks. So what do these malwares do? They do whatever was told by the attacker, whatever logic the program was written for. What can it do? As we have seen the evolution of malwares, these malicious softwares, they can encrypt your data and demand ransom, or irritate you with a lot of advertisements, or record the keystrokes, or steal your credentials, any of these stuff. So how are your credentials stolen? So they may send you a link, and you will be asked to click on that link. You'll have a very tempting message, and you'll be obviously tempted to click on that link, and that link will take you to a cloned web page of your own company, or your Facebook, or your banking website. So what could happen then? Let me show you a small educational demo on, yeah, on credential harvesting. So this is to steal the credentials. Once the credentials are stolen, the next step would be to some log into your system, and then trick on you to get any OTP if there is a two-factor authentication. and then install some uh, malwares, have some backdoor connections, and then have the C2 server connected to your system, and so that the system is totally under the control of the attacker. So, like for instance, here we have, so I have already started this server, and I have a clone page of Google. As you can see, this is a clone page, this is not a genuine page. You can see the log symbol, and the URL is not related to Google domain. So now when I type some stuff here, I see a talk malware at gmail.com and some 1234. And you can see I'm now forwarded to the actual Google page. Now any user at this end would think that the typing of uh, the password or the username, it was mistyped. So I'm forwarded to the page again. So I would try to log in again. But the credential harvesting is like you get the username and the password. These are all collected for all users who click on the links. So these links can be sent through email or sent through SMSs or WhatsApps or any other means. Yeah. Let me show you. So this about stealing the credentials. So whenever you get a page which looks exactly like your company page or any banking page or any grocery purchase page, so you have to be careful looking at the links and the lock symbol. How do they come to your computer? When you click on or download a file from a web page or click on an email attachment, or when you inject USB drive into your system which is already infected, or a CD drive into which an exe file is already existing, and s- use of cracked versions of softwares. They may leave a lot of doors open for attackers and other programs to come and stay in your PC. How do you know there is malware? So whenever your system gets very slow, system may hang up and may not respond to any mouse click or command. There might be strange icons on the desktop. There might be strange files in the folders. The files go encrypted or the files are noted to be deleted. Then there is malware. So as I told you, either use and
Madam, we lost the voice. Madam, we are not able to hear you. Yeah, I'm just checking. I'm just checking, Santoshji. Vali ma'am, we are not able to hear your voice. Madam, we are not able to hear your voice.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Now we are able to hear you, ma'am. Please.
Okay. Okay. So you can create a URL. You can feed some company name and then create a URL or create a tracking code. Now send this URL through an SMS or a WhatsApp link. And then when somebody clicks on that link, you can have these things collected. So if I create a URL now and post it in the chat box of this webinar, and if you are clicking on that, I can know your IP address, country, city, and all these stuff. Unless you have put some restrictions on those parameters. Otherwise, I can know all this stuff here. So from which program you have clicked on the link? Is it WhatsApp?
Ma'am, again, like we lost your voice, ma'am. Yeah, I'm just checking with madam, sir. Please wait. Madam, again, we lost your voice. Ma'am, we are not still not able to hear your voice. Yeah, Shamik sir, like we were trying actually. Just give me a few seconds.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Now I'm able to hear you, ma'am. Now we are able to
Yeah,
hear
I changed the laptop. Just a second.
you. Okay, okay, ma'am. You have to give the permission, ma'am. Okay. Okay, ma'am. Your new laptop presentation clearance were given, ma'am.
Can you see my screen also, sir?
No, 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 ma'am. No. We are yet to share.
Oh.
Yes, now we are able to see, ma'am. Now we are able to see the screen.
Okay. So this is the Grabify IP logger, which can be created to send a link to somebody to extract information about the device, which model, which make, and then softwares installed and all this stuff. And let me show you some information. Let me load the screen. Yeah. So all the while we have been speaking about whether a website is genuine or whether the file or the software that we are downloading is genuine or not, how we need to check. So we said one way is to go through the virustotal.com or make use of antivirus softwares that are installed on our machines. And this is one simple technique which can be used to know what are all the packets that are flowing in our network. So this is a Wireshark program. You can download it for free, and so just install it on even Windows-based machine is fine. So I'm using my Kali Linux version of it. So what I did is, like, I have downloaded some emoted malware. Okay, and this you can find out in the Git. And just for the sake of demo, I'm using this. So what you need to do is just click on the file and then open and then feed that malware file. So I have downloaded some already existing malware files, and look at here. I just wanted to show you how in the packets you can identify the malwares. So this is in addition to the photographs or the softwares or the websites we were talking about. So in this PCAP file, means the captured packet file. So as you see, when you examine this, I'm just editing the resolved name. Yeah. So from the traffic, I'm just exporting the object. Okay, and as you can see here, this file. Okay, so this is SGMS. Some file, some DLL file is also getting into our system. Okay, this is the host name. I'm suspecting this, so I can save it by clicking on the save. Okay, I'm done with this. So I'm closing it. Now, yeah, I can now upload this file to virustotal.com and check whether it is infected or not. As simple as that. So this is the file, okay, that I have extracted onto the disk. Okay. So what do you see here? So this is the host, and we followed just the TCP stream, and I'm highlighting the stuff here. So there is an attachment with it, which is a DLL. Okay. So now when I go to Aristotle, it seems to be slow. Okay. So it's the same website. Only thing is you need to update and upload this file, whichever you have downloaded from Wireshark, okay, by exploiting. Okay. So this is another way where you can identify whether a DLL that has come into your system is infected with some malware or not. So there are many other tools other than these, like for example, P Studio or IDA Pro. There are a lot of other tools, but I've just shown you the stuff which allows you to identify whether a given software or a file or a website is infected with some malicious programs. So with this, I would like to stop the presentation and uh, be open for the questions.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful session on this malwaretism. I think like